guys, welcome back to the Bright Life Podcast. I'm Jessica Johnson and I'm so glad to have you here. This week's episode is all about the theme of giving yourself time to acclimate. So if you're in a new situation, and maybe even a good situation that you wanted or dreamt about, but you're in the newness of it and you're maybe even questioning, did I make a mistake? Is there something I'm missing here? What's going wrong? Then I want to offer this mantra or affirmation to you of give yourself time to acclimate. Because I have recently been reminded of this as well. So I'll share a few stories and how I even came across this affirmation as something that's been really helpful and peace giving to me. And then I'll talk about how maybe it applies to a situation you could be in, and ways to tell if it's like you've given yourself enough time or if it's just like the newness and that's what's feeling uncomfortable, and some tools to work with it. All right. So I'm right there with you. I was feeling a little bit like I just needed to get my bearings over the past few weeks because my husband and I just got to where we spend the summers, and it's an amazing thing, right? It's like something we look forward to every single year, but there's so much newness that comes with it because it's a whole different culture. It's a different language. There's all different processes. There's different ways of doing things. There's different times things are open. It is not like the US living that we're used to. And so it took me a few weeks this year to get used to that and to remember this is good. Just because this feels a little bit uncomfortable and I'm having to navigate, it doesn't mean it's wrong. And this is a lesson that I first learned in my 20s when I had gotten the job in New York City, and it was both everything I dreamt of and then also the newness of it felt so shocking and so uncomfortable. So in that particular instance, when I first learned this lesson, hopefully your story will start to feel like it resonates with this one. But I had spent weeks trying to get this dream job in New York City. I finally landed it. I write about this in my book, Your Right Life. And, you've probably heard me talk about it on this podcast if you've been here for a while. But I was elated to get to live in New York City in my 20s. And about a month before I moved there, I went and found the place that I would live. Well, a few days before I moved there, I found out that I could no longer live there, that the building had been overtaken by bed bugs. And so the morning I landed in New York City to live there with my lone suitcase of belongings, I would need to find a place to actually live so that I would not be sleeping on the street my first night. And so that morning was this whirlwind morning of searching for apartments I could live in, of signing documents, of signing over lots of money, especially when you're in your 20s, it moves so fast. It's the first time you've done this, especially in such a big city, in that way. And so there was just a lot going on that morning. And even taking my suitcase up and down all these New York City stairs with the elevators not always working, and getting in and out of cabs and not really even being quite sure where to direct them because I didn't know my lay of the land yet. It was a lot. So when I finally got the keys to my apartment after all of that, I looked around at my lone little suitcase sitting there and this open apartment where I hadn't even received any of my stuff yet in the mail, that I was shipping over. And I just sat down in my suitcase and I cried. I was so happy to be there, but I was also so out of my comfort zone. It was all so new to me. I didn't know where to go and get lunch. I didn't have a fork to eat lunch. And just as I'm saying these things, I realize now that all of these things are very fixable. But when you're a little bit younger and when you don't have the conveniences we have today, like Google Maps or I think I probably used MapQuest back then, it's very different. And it just feels like a lot. So in that moment, I realized that I'm going to need a little time to acclimate. And the reason that I realized it was really just a matter of giving myself that time is because within a few weeks, I was living my best life. I loved my time in that city. I had navigated, I felt a little more comfortable. I felt like I was starting to get the hang of the subways and the cute little pizza restaurant down the street. And I finally had received a few things in the mail so I could sleep on them instead of just this blanket of clothes and scarves from my suitcase that I did the first few nights. And so it all started to feel really good. And I thought, there's something to this. This wasn't the wrong choice. I just needed to give myself time to acclimate. And that's happened over and over again in my life. It doesn't have to be a move. It could be a new city, a new business that you are starting. It could be a new skill that you are learning. Like maybe you're learning some new tech for your career and it's frustrating you. Or like now there's AI and you're like, I've been doing things one way, but now I have to learn a new way. Maybe it could be parenthood and like you've dreamt of being a mom forever, and yet you're also in that season that is just like, it's hard, right? Like I've heard from my girlfriends, it just rocks your world, that first little newborn phase. And so in all of those, I just want to offer you this hopefully peace-giving affirmation of give yourself time to acclimate. It's okay if you're a little bit uncomfortable. It's okay if it's new. It doesn't mean that it will last forever. And I've jotted down a few things that can hopefully give you like a little bit of encouragement in this. So the first thing to remember is uncomfortable doesn't mean wrong, just like comfortable doesn't mean right. It just means new. Uncomfortable just means new. So your nervous system is doing everything it can to bring things back to what it knows, because that's what it knows. It knows how to handle the emotions that you're used to feeling, the circumstances you're used to experiencing, the people you're used to talking to, the routine that you are used to. And so even if you are dreaming of something different and that you've been wanting this forever, your body, it just physically is going to sense something's wrong because it's different. So just remember, it doesn't mean wrong, it just means new. So just like you can be somewhere that you've outgrown and you know that's not right, even though it feels comfortable, give yourself the time to be in a new situation that feels uncomfortable, but can also be the right thing for you. It can be like a both and, right? It's not either or, it's both and. There's a quote that I love by Anais Nin, and it says, "The time came when the risk to remain tight in a bud was more painful than the risk it took to blossom." The time came when the risk to remain tight in a bud was more painful than the risk it took to blossom. I don't know about you, but I have felt this over and over again in my life when I've been ready for a transition, but it's also uncomfortable and new. So maybe you're ready to start a business because you want to create more freedom or fulfillment or finances in your life. Maybe you want to take a leap to move to a new city and you know in your heart that it's the right thing because it's actually becoming more uncomfortable to stay where you are than to take that chance. Whatever your situation is, sometimes the risk to remain tight in a bud becomes more painful than the risk it takes to blossom. It may be a risk, but it still may be the right and best thing you've ever done. So here are a few questions to ask yourself to determine whether it's a wrong decision or whether you just need to give yourself a little more time to acclimate. Number one is, have you given yourself enough time? Because in the first few days, weeks, hours, minutes, months of anything new, you might just be like recalibrating. You might just be getting used to what it feels like to be in this new place, new environment, new relationship, new situation, new job. Every single time you're learning something new, you're kind of just learning how to do it. And so you might just need to make sure that you've given yourself enough time before you truly know it's not a matter of the time, it's a matter of it being the wrong choice. So have you given yourself enough time? That's question number one. And question number two is, what would enough time look like? So if you are, new to, let's say you've just started your business and the sales calls and discovery calls that new clients have with you to determine if you want to work together, they feel really scary and really uncomfortable. Okay, that's all right. We'll accept that. They do feel uncomfortable. So just acknowledging that can be helpful. But then the second piece is, have you given yourself enough time? And what would enough time look like? It might look like 3 to 6 months of doing them before you can really start to hit your stride and feel comfortable and confident and know what you're doing and have like the neural networks built in your brain to know what to say whenever someone asks you a question, instead of having to work so hard to think of it on the spot right now. It could take 3 to 6 months. It could take those 90 days. And so can you give yourself that time to determine whether this is wrong or whether it's just a matter of it being new and you need a little more time to acclimate and get comfortable. Now, if it's another situation, let's say you move to a new place and you're like, what have I done? Okay, that's fine, but how long would you need to acclimate? Again, you might need like 3 to 6 months before you actually start to get into your flow and find your cute coffee shop and make a few friends and not feel like you're home in your apartment all the time, not even getting to feel this place. It might take a little bit of time. If you're in a, I don't know, like new relationship, or let's say you just got married, it might take 3 or 6 months, even though you love this person, even though you wanted to get married, it might take a little time to get used to this new life you're building together and figure out who does the dishes or the chores or, who does what part of them, what your schedules are like, how that works together, how you handle conflict. So all of those things, again, doesn't mean wrong decision. It just means you might need a little time to figure things out and to acclimate. The other third question that I always ask myself now is, what other comforts can you give yourself to feel more comfortable in the newness, in the transition period? So, for example, I've heard from my girlfriends that become new mothers that something like walking the aisles of Target just becomes like amazing. Like just getting out of the house and feeling like you can just walk the aisles and get some like peace and just a feeling of being out in the world, but it's not overly aggressive or anything, can be great. Same with like going through a Starbucks drive-through and just being like, all is well, I've got my coffee, I feel good, I'm out of the house. So it could be something like that. If you're a mom, let me know in the comments. Maybe it's something completely different for you and it could help someone else. If it is learning something new, I really go far, and maybe you do too, with just some nice positive self-talk and affirmations. So I'll just think to myself like, I'm so proud of you doing this. I know this is hard for you. I know this is scary. And it just feels nice in your own body to be acknowledged and to be like, okay, yeah, this is kind of scary, and like that's okay. It doesn't mean you have to make the scary go away. It just means you can acknowledge that it's scary. You see yourself, you're there with yourself, you're all good. If it's something like starting a business and you're looking for comfort, I think iced coffee out after like doing a sales call or a discovery call can be really nice. Like going for a walk can be nice. It's free, but it just resets your nervous system. It feels really nice. I often would wear like a blanket over myself, just something comforting that like soothes your physical body as your mind is feeling a little out of sorts, can be a really nice balance. And then like I said, the other one is just admitting this is new and uncomfortable and that's okay. So not making the discomfort wrong, not making the nerves wrong. That's helped me so much. And as I mentioned, it's been 10, 15 almost years now since that first time I learned this lesson with New York City and all the times I've learned it since. And then I still found myself this past week like using this lesson. And so I hope it serves you as well, that at any point you can give yourself time to acclimate. Newness doesn't mean wrong, just like comfort and something you've outgrown doesn't mean right. And you've got this. And if at any point you realize you've given yourself the time to acclimate and it doesn't feel right still, you can change your mind, you can pivot, you can do what's right for you at the next stage. So try not to worry about that now, but try and just focus on what you can do right now to give yourself comfort, to remind yourself it's okay, to lean into the discomfort and just learn whatever you can from it to make it less uncomfortable. Like it's like going to the gym. When you first start going, it's hard, it's uncomfortable, you're sore, you physically feel strained, and it's the same with doing something new. So it does get better, you do get stronger, you get faster. It's the same thing with situations when you're in transition, doing something new, learning something new, and becoming someone different. So I am so proud of you. Drop a comment if this encourages you, if you've ever thought about this, or if you have any other like mantras or affirmations or things you tell yourself that help in these new situations, to remind you to keep going or that it's okay to make a change either way. All right, thank you so much for being here, and I'll chat with you again next week. Thank you so much for listening in. If you enjoyed this episode, check out the links in the show notes or on my website, hijessicajohnson.com, where you can find my books, courses, and opportunities to mentor with me. Or if you haven't yet, I would so appreciate a quick review wherever you listen to this podcast, as it helps others discover it too. Thanks again for being part of this community, and I'll talk to you again soon.